You're watching Citizen Briefs on Citizen Television. Thank you for staying with us. Your time is all appreciated. Let's begin with the top stories. And former Kindiki leader Maina Njenga has finally been arraigned. Njenga was arraigned at the Makadara courts here in Nairobi County along with 2 other suspects to face 5 charges. The charges include being in possession of offensive weapons, trafficking narcotics, inciting members of the public to commit subversive activities, and preparing to commit a felony. He will spend the night at the industrial area remand prison ahead of his ruling on bail application on Tuesday. His lawyers, led by Harun Dobi, Evans Ondieki, have argued that his rights were violated in his detention. And Kilifi South Member of Parliament Ken Chonga and the County Assembly Speaker Teddy Mwambire and 2 others have been released by a Mombasa court. Each of the accused persons released on Kenya shillings 50,000 shillings cash bail after 5 days in police custody. Chief Magistrate Martha Mutuku said the prosecution has not advanced compelling reasons to deny the accused the bond. The 4 who were last week charged with participation in an unlawful assembly have been ordered to present in court throughout their trial process.
Muda ambao kwamba mtu anaweza kushikwa kiholela, huo muda umepita. Wacha mtu awe amekosa. Na siongei kama mshakiwa, naongea kama Mkenya. Hii ni haki ya Mkenya. Haki ya watu kukungamana. Katiba iko juu kushinda mtu yoyote hapa Kenya. Wacha Mkenya apewe haki yake.
Na iwapo pengine kuna watu wengine wanafikiri wanaweza kutofia, basi waambie wawe pole sana. Kwa sababu sisi hatutafuti haki yetu, tunatafutia haki ya Wakenya wengi ambao hawawezi kusimama imara kutetea haki yao.
Mimi kama kiongozi wa ndani ya bunge la Senate na kiongozi wa upinzani niko na haki ya kusema kama kuna makosa. Kama nikisema kuna makosa yangu sio kwamba uje alafu nikisha mimi nakushika.
And the Council of Anglican Bishops from the Nyanza region have called for a ceasefire between the government and the opposition, saying that innocent Kenyans have borne the brunt of the disagreement between the 2 sides. Speaking at the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital, where they visited victims of police brutality, the clergy condemned the excessive use of force and remarks by the president, who gave the police a pat on the back for suppressing the anti-government protests. They also called out the government for disregarding the constitution, citing unlawful detainment of suspects and what they said was unnecessary harassment of the first family.
If we want to run this country on the basis of suspicion, fear and vendetta, then no one will remain in this country. Fueling tension through reckless utterances cannot save this nation from its economic woes. A national conversation is critical as a panacea for peaceful transition.
We are calling the opposition leaders to recognize the legitimacy and legality of Kenya Kwanza government. Mutual understanding is attained when each party recognizes the other and gives due respect. We are rightly of the view that respect must also be earned by good behavior on both sides.
And a survey conducted by pollster Infotrak has found that majority of Kenyans feel the country is headed in the wrong direction. The survey, conducted between 3rd and 8th of July this year, sampled more than 2,400 respondents and found that 71% of them felt the country was heading in the wrong direction. 15% saying the country was headed in the right direction. 12% were uncertain about which way it was headed. Of those who stated that the country was heading in the wrong direction, majority were from Nyanza and Western regions, while the score of the right direction came from Central Kenya and Rift Valley regions. Factors that were listed as the contributors to the country heading in the right direction were the executive, meaning president and the cabinet, the peace in the country, that the cost of living was affordable, and other respondents statement saying that it was because of their candidate choice was in power. Reasons given by the 71% who felt the country was heading in the wrong direction included that the cost of living was high, unemployment, poverty, and poor governance. Testing the awareness of the levels of Kenyans on Finance Act 2023, 87% said they were aware of the Act and its proposals, while 13% and others said that they were not aware about the content of the Finance Act.
Asking them whether this Finance Act that was assented to by the President will have a positive impact on the Kenyan economy, only 22% believe it will have an impact, with nearly 60% say it will not have an impact. And 16% are not sure whether it will have any positive impact. So the key takeout here is at least a 22% who have hoped that the impugned Finance Act, once the courts make their final determination, can have an impact, positive impact on the economy.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kindiki has said that the areas gazetted as disturbed and dangerous in the North Rift will remain so, and anyone found in those areas will be dealt with as a bandit. The CS was speaking during his visit to Sinoni, Kiserian and Kasiela in Baringo South constituency, where the National Police Service and the Kenya Defence Forces have been conducting an operation to weed out bandits and armed criminals terrorizing locals. According to the CS, the operation has been a success and has enabled the local communities to back on the homes and go on with their livelihoods.
The last 2 years that these people have been able to farm and live in peace, and we've never had any incidents from the time we deployed here in March. We will sustain that environment, and I want to assure the residents of Muchongoi, the residents of Mukutani, the residents of Baringo, and all the other counties that have been affected by banditry, that we will not allow criminals to access those dangerous places, gorges, caves, hills, valleys, which were used before as hideouts.
And a section of clerics have strongly opposed the regulation of churches by law in the country, saying the church should be allowed to self-regulate. Appearing before the Senate ad hoc committee probing the Shakahola massacre, Bishop Margaret Wanjiru has decried the victimization of the religious institutions in the country following the Shakahola incident in Kilifi County, and recommended instead that religious registration be removed from the Societies Act and anchored in another act or law. While making their submissions, church leaders also argued that imposing minimum requirements for registration as religious organization or organizations is discriminatory in nature.
How long does it take for one, or was it from Honorable Chair, for one to become a bishop? Our recommendation would be over 10 years of experience. And with those 10 years of experience, then you must be ordained. You are not a bishop because you called yourself a bishop. You are a bishop because you are ordained. If we have to maybe reduce, maybe to 7 years, but it can never be below 7 years. You cannot say that you are a bishop and you've not done ministry for plus 7 years. I mean, also ministry, there is the experience in it. So maybe 7, maybe 10. By the end of it, you can come up, but that practice must be there. That experience must be there.
Kenya is facing an acute shortage of animal feed in the last 2 years. This was revealed by the Director of Livestock, and according to Christopher Wanga, who attributed the shortage to the prolonged drought in the country and the Russia-Ukraine war. He said the country lost over 2.5 million livestock in the last 2 years due to lack of pastures and water. He spoke in Naivasha in Nakuru County on the sidelines of a forum on resilient African feeds and fodder systems that has drawn participants from across the continent.
And the main cause of death was starvation arising from lack of water and feed. And that is why the issues on mitigating drought effects on animals is key. And therefore, we wish to applaud the current government because of the initiatives. We have the de-risking livestock inclusivity project that is addressing the drought issues in 21 counties of this country. And the main focus is making sure that the business interests in animal feeds can.
And a group of elders from the Kuria community who claim to have lived on the border of Transmara for years before they were allegedly evicted back in 1989 want the government to resettle them on their ancestral land. The elders who are named Mnyonge Hana Haki purport that they were born and raised in the border areas before getting dislodged and robbed of their property. The elders who blame the government for taking long to address their plight and grievances are appealing for a permanent resolution of the matter to allow them return to their home.
Ilifika ikaendelea, mimi nikakulia sehemu hiyo, hata shule nilikulia sehemu hiyo, ikaendelea mpaka ikafika mahali, ilikuja ikafika mwaka 89 tukahamishwa ya kwamba eti sisi ni wa Tanzania. Lakini tulifanyiwa dhuluma, hata wakina mama, wasee, mali yetu tulipokonywa tukamalisiwa kabisa bila idhini.
Sisi tunaomba tu kwamba serikali iingilie kati, itupatie hii shamba. Ni kesi iko mlavyoeleza kwamba kesi iko mahakamani, lakini mtu anakuja na kiburi, analeta miti, anaanza kukata shamba pasipo kueleza mtu wowote.
Hatua ya sheria iweze kufuatwa ili watu wasiwe na taharuki, kwa sababu watu wasipohusishwa wanakuwa na taharuki, na taharuki haitatusaidia na wala uhasama hautatusaidia.
At least 15 people have died and 19 others missing after a ferry capsized during a 20-minute journey near Sulawesi Island in Indonesia. According to the country's search and rescue agency statement, the boat sank with 40 people on board, and 6 who were rescued are now receiving treatment in local hospitals. The Indonesian authorities are, however, still searching for 19 people who are missing. The cause of the accident still remains unclear. And middle distance runner Stephen Masindet won the boys 3,000 meters and 1,500 meters titles during the inaugural Transmara Classic Athletics in Kilgoris in the county of Narok. The event was a fusion of culture and sports involving the top athletics talents from the Maa community. 19-year-old Stephen Masindet beat the strongest field opponent to win the 3,000 meters race as well as the 1,500 meters in the girls category. Agneta Nyakuta won the 3,000 meters after outsprinting her opponents in the last 600 meters. The objective of the race was to empower the Narok girls to ascend to the global map of athletics like the rest of the communities. Tourism Principal Secretary John Olotua was the chief guest of honor during the event.
Beautiful. Wanaoingia sasa. Asante vile vile St. Joseph. Mtatumbuiza kidogo.
And that brings us to a close here on Citizen Briefs. Many thanks for your time and company. More your way in our following bulletins at 7 and at 9 p.m. Thanks for watching. Good evening.